remember calling my mom 1 week after we were married and I was like, what did I get myself into? Do you think I should get an annulment?
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Welcome back to Crafted Entrepreneur. We're going to talk about our story. This has kind of gone viral on YouTube right now about how we almost got a divorce. And we want to talk about what led to that moment. And I think it was a lot of little moments, but you're going to hear it from both of our perspectives right now. So let's take people back to how we almost lost our marriage. But I feel like we almost lost it like 10 times.
That's what I was going to ask, a clarifying question.
I feel like we should tell the story of how we first got married because I was 21, you were 19.
Yeah, freshly 19, like 2 weeks.
Yeah. August 2nd. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
What's crazy is when we first got married, Chase was working for his dad and you were working as a football coach.
Yep.
That was when I think you were coaching David Carr. Or what is his name? Derek Carr? He's famous now.
I wasn't coaching that. I was coaching like Pee Wee League.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so you weren't doing even high school yet.
No.
Oh my God. I was so annoyed. And because I was in nursing school, so I was very busy.
Yeah. And
then you were working full time, plus you were coaching Pee Wee football. I'm like, why in the world is this even like a fight between us?
Still holding on to the dream.
Yeah, you were. Oh my gosh. He was supposed to play college football, you guys, and he broke his leg. And so his dreams got shattered in that moment. He wasn't able to play. So he lived vicariously through young people for a while. I remember calling my mom 1 week after we were married and I was like, what did I get myself into? Do you think I should get an annulment? Because this is not what marriage is supposed to be like. And she was like, she basically hung up on me. She's like, you'll figure it out. She was like not having it whatsoever, which I'm thankful she was like that because obviously, I was like, I got to figure this out. We were living.
She was like, you married a 19-year-old? What do you expect?
But we were, okay, I need to explain where we were living. We were waiting on escrow, right, for our house that we had bought. So we were living in a garage unit of friends from church that were much older than us.
Yep.
And it was just an open floor plan. I mean, it was just a bed. The kitchen net was right in front of it, and the bath was right here. Yeah. I mean, that was it.
It was like a couple hundred square feet. It was a hotel room.
It was a hotel room.
Yeah.
And it was in the back of somebody's house, too. So we couldn't be, loud screaming at each other. I came from a home where there was lots of screaming. And I found out really quickly being married to you that was, not going to happen. If I yelled at you, you just completely, you wouldn't even respond.
Shut down. That was not part of my upbringing.
Okay, so that was strike number one against our marriage where I was trying to already get out at 21 years old. Then I remember when I first had Cooper and you were that was when you were coaching high school football.
Yes.
And I was working as an ER nurse and you were gone all the time watching film, having people at our house. And I had this baby and I'm just like, you got paid $1,000 to coach high school football.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? This is another one of those moments where I was like, what did I get myself into? He doesn't know how to be a dad. You were a dad, but I don't know. You were just young.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much expected of a 20-year-old at that point.
Yeah,
21-year-old is I remember distinctly when we first got married and I was coaching and I was coming home from practice and I stopped and got myself Taco Bell or something. And I got home and I had my Taco Bell bag. And you were like, are you serious? You didn't call me and ask me if I wanted anything? And I'm like, I didn't even know that was the thing. I've never had to ask anybody in my life if, other than myself, you know what I mean? I didn't have to think about anybody else other than myself at that point. I was 19 years old. It's I didn't go to college. I didn't have, a bunch of girlfriends, you know what I mean? So it was just
I was it.
Yeah.
I locked them in.
So it took me years to figure out oh shoot, I'm responsible of another relationship and human being and also a kid. Yeah. I wasn't quite prepared for that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's taking me back to all the things.
Which is, also when I was coaching, it was oh yeah. After a game, all the coaches, these guys I was the youngest guy on staff by a lot. Most of the guys were, in their late 30s, early 40s and had older kids and had been married for many years. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going for drinks after the game at 10:30 at night. And I'm like, count me in. I'm in.
Were you even old enough to drink?
Maybe.
Oh my God.
It was drinks at somebody's house.
So young. We were just so young. And so that brought a lot of problems. And then I got into network marketing at 23 as working as a nurse and started making a lot of money, started to get bigger dreams, and you were like, this is fake money. Like, it's not going to last. This is crazy. Like, no way. It's not going to last. Like, you just did not believe in it. Mm-hmm. And that caused a lot of issues because I was like, I'm going to buy us our dream house. Like, our dream house at the time was your grandpa's house. Yep. And I was like, I'm going to make enough money to buy that before Charlie's born. And you were like, no. Like, you weren't, like, believing it until what made you switch?
Well, I think I was going through, when we married, I was reproducing my parents' life, essentially. Right? Like, my goal was to take over the family business that I've seen my dad do from his dad. Mm-hmm. You were going to be a nurse. Like, my mom had been a nurse for 25 years at that point. Like, this was the track that I was building for our life. And when you started, like, throwing massive hammers and wrenches in the middle of that, it was definitely, I was resistant to it. Also because, you didn't start out making a lot of money. I mean, you made a lot of money in your first 6 months or whatever, 6 figures you did. But like the first couple of months in that, you were essentially, you were working your nursing job and then a full-time, another full-time job, which meant more time away from me. Obviously you didn't take time away from Cooper, but, I was getting the leftovers at that point.
Right.
Which were pretty much nothing for very little money in the beginning. It wasn't until I started seeing like real money coming in and I was like, oh wow, this is like kind of crazy, and obviously that had benefits to me because we were able to go on cool vacations and I didn't know anything other than an Embassy Suites was the nicest hotel that I have ever stayed at, until
we were going to the Four Seasons.
Yeah, it was like I remember going to the SLS in Los Angeles, West Hollywood for the first time, and I was like, whoa, this is so sick. So obviously, that helped bring me around the corner, but I was never fully around that corner until you were making literally like $1 million a year. And then, obviously in network marketing, they do a great job with all the incentive trips and the events. And I would tag along to those things. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm getting all the benefits of, you building this network marketing company, and I get to go on all the cool trips and hang out with cool people. And I think that was what started like transitioning my mindset. And then obviously being immersed in that culture of, I always say network marketing is the gateway drug to entrepreneurship. They do a very good job of investing people to, the speakers that are going to encourage growth mindset and thinking outside the box and personal development, all those things that help obviously the people in network marketing grow and scale their business, which from a corporate standpoint is obviously beneficial to them. But I think being immersed in that was what started to shift my mindset of like, oh, there is more possible for our life than just on the track to take over my dad's business, which is a great business and, all the things. But my dad still to this day works, 60 hours a week and, gone in the morning, comes home at night. And I thought that was just going to be my life. And when somebody started showing me that, like, no, I didn't have to do that. And like, we could still create an amazing life and not have to trade time for money at that point. And that was what really started to shift my mindset around all that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then we found out that, now you're seeing running your own company that you're working 60 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's for your dream. It's for something that you truly believe in, that you think is going to be a legacy for the kids as well.
Yep.
So it's exciting. But I think all the change is actually what probably caused, like, we had this expectation of what marriage was going to be like. And we found out very quickly that was not it. Then we had an expectation of what life was going to be like with kids. And then we were disappointed, right? Because it was like much harder and there were all these life things that came in the way. We had an expectation of what we were going to do when we started making money. And there was just a lot of missed expectations, which I think caused what I would say, the spiral down in our marriage.
Yeah.
Back in, I don't even remember when it was. It seems like forever ago, but we had been married at least 7 years at that point. But it was started to just kind of, we were hating each other. We were on opposite sides of the planet when it came to what we wanted and just how we wanted to be, who we wanted to hang out with. It was a mess. And then you were working as a worship pastor at church, and I hated the church that you made me go to. And that made that was, honestly, that was probably the demise of the relationship right there. And then the thing that saved us was we left that church, right? That's in my mindset, that's what happened.
I don't know about that, but sure, if you want to say.
Yeah. What do you think?
A lot of it goes, like you said, it was missed expectations. And, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between those years of, me leaving my job with my dad and joining forces with you in the network marketing world and quickly realizing that was not my gig. And I was having to go through a lot of ego deaths in that time period because I went from being at the top of my game with working for my dad. I was well known in the industry around, the city that we lived in California for being this young, kid that was kind of like taking over that space. And overnight I went from everyone knowing my name in that industry to being Kayla Craft's husband. That was a big blow to my ego. And
you were still in your 20s. What were you, 20?
I was 2014, so I was 25 when that happened.
Yeah, you're still so young.
So that contributed to a lot of for me personally. And then again, goes back to, even though we made that decision together that I was going to leave my job and it was kind of my idea, and to begin with, I still resented you for putting me in that position. And so there was a lot of stuff that I was going through that took years for me to work through and get over. And I don't think it ended when we left a particular church or moved or anything like that. I think, some of that stuff continued to follow us here when we moved to Newport Beach, and it really took me finding my own identity in working with you with Mommy Millionaire was the Kickstarter to that, right? Like I was like, okay, network marketing was my thing. Couldn't really find my place there, but I can find my place here. It's like, I know how to manage people. I know how to, quickly learned how to run marketing campaigns and, essentially operate as a COO or so in that business.
Really quick though, so I want to go back because you're saying that you believe that basically the problems that started to happen in our marriage were based on the fact that they were identity crises. Would you say that?
I mean, I think we had a lot of problems leading up to that one, and I think that was definitely a big one.
But when you say a lot of problems, what were the other problems?
I mean, I think just our problems of being young and married with kids and
just selfishness. Yeah, like we wanted our own thing.
The kids, obviously, I was young. I wanted, I had certain expectations of what, having a wife looked like. And when we were having kids back to back to back, like we did, and at a young age, and you were working with your network marketing business and also being a good mother. And I was basically getting the scraps of,
Yeah, I didn't have my priorities in alignment back then either. So it was a missed priorities, missed expectations, lack of communication.
Yep.
Those were all the things that led to we were done.
Yeah.
We were gonna call it quits.
Yep.
So we're gonna do another episode on his perspective on what saved our marriage. So stay tuned for that.